Right, the time is 18:15 on Thursday, 16th of July. Still haven't got my proper headphones back, so I hope the microphone's picking this one up. And I've just lost my train of thought because the car engine has started. Bear with me a moment. Oh, that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, so silly women holding onto my headphones and violence. So the problem employer has is they've gone through the exciting human biomass experiment post-COVID, where we were put into our allotted categories by the woman who came in, who may or may not be an apparatchik. We didn't speak to her long enough to work that one out, which sort of went through the process to help my colleagues out, then fucked off out of Birmingham. But as part of the process, I can guarantee you certain unpleasant topics were covered, but the capacity for violence wasn't. So when your Saturday afternoon is walking down an Aston Street discussing murders with your late father, as just sort of a habit really, this is probably not a personal development experience that many of your colleagues are going to have, especially not the former leisure centre manager who's currently running the department that deals with potentially seriously violent men. But anyway, it's a bit embarrassing in terms of the pay and grading thing. But I'm just thinking through. So again, we did the security review as part of the stint with the policy team. I appreciate the bloke you brought in to do project management turned out to not be able to discuss Crenshawism in a public body. Again, a bit embarrassing episode that was. But again, because we've done sort of 6 years of work, I don't actually need to do anything else any further. My CV sort of speaks for itself at this point. It's just the people in Birmingham are too thick to get it. So the pay and grading people may need to come back, because I believe when the equal pay clauses were signed off, the people agreed not to sue the employer based on equal pay liability based on sex criteria. The problem employer now has is, now that the process is concluded, all of my immediate colleagues are far too stupid or incompetent or dishonest to actually run the department. Therefore, the department is short-circuited. So in the proximal concerns, we have a court service manager who tried to be my special friend and couldn't get a solicitor when we tried to report things under the serious misconduct policy. That's a bit naughty. A former leisure centre manager who repeatedly attacked me. A sort of dodgy old woman who was very pleasant but can't respond to anything I say. The current director, who is sort of an absentee landlord, clearly corrupt, he went along with the equity nonsense. The latest long line of corrupt managing directors, who went along with equity nonsense, who are definitionally corrupt. A corrupt Labour Party, because we've been fighting these people since before I was born. Obviously for 200 years, if you go back to what John Cotton believes. I mean, we could go on, but I mean, we're now I think we're on a Thursday, aren't we? Really, so we've covered all that kind of stuff. We solved their problem before buggering off out of Birmingham last November, and they're too arrogant to actually respond to that in a sensible adult manner. I'm sorry, you've made the correct clever inference, because John Cotton tried to mash two variables together. Everyone in the city can see that the two variables don't go, and he's still pulling faces for cameras and still trying to hang on to his career. Then we wonder why he's possibly lost power. I don't know, but I do. This is one of the scary things as well. So because of the lack of information, we're in the modern world. I'm sitting at St Giles. Down the road, the flat has got a full fibre connection, so news of John Cotton's career should filter through to me at lightning speed. But of course, Birmingham is now the Mary Celeste. Nobody knows what's happened to these people. I note that Phillips has now put a name to the letter with Mitchell, so okay, we'll see where that goes. But the chain goes back to her comments when we were running committee services. You're sitting in the main chamber, you've got to deadpan it, you can't react to that kind of stuff. And of course, back then, if I had cognitive liberty, you would have maybe got to respond properly when that happens, and maybe we wouldn't be down to the line where we are. So this is where not paying attention to the democratic process and not taking things seriously, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. If we had paid attention all those years ago and taken action when that happened, Naylor wouldn't have come in, etc., etc. So we only actually have ourselves to blame ultimately. So, I mean, this is why the Cubans are so aggressive when they come to the stage. If you've actually fled the commies, you just want to kill them, basically. You are sort of Vlad the Impaler, just in terms of John Cotton's lot. And then you've got the sort of antics of the Green Lane lot on top of that, and you're thinking, right, okay, well, it's good that you can be dispassionate over that a career of that kind, because you're trained to be. Your entire career is grey rocking people and deadpanning your decisions, because you just have to follow the law. What you think is irrelevant. And by the way, we can still do that. Still got John Cotton's laptop. Still can log on to it. Still can do the job. Still the only person in the city who can do the job. So I've got physical safety, and I'm intelligent enough to do it. But the current situation remains that because of the ongoing corruption, there is no way logically you can do the job without some kind of intermediary coming in who is not hostile. So the city of Birmingham can't just person people and style, which of course is what they are doing. If you read, because they're so dim, they do the same thing over and over again. So you have the in awful gloomy accents, the mental elves who dictate, of course, sanity or not. The CIPD poison, of course, has been pumped in. Peter Cheese is now left. They're now going to have to unpick that, which is going to be embarrassing and costly in terms of litigation. There's a law firm with my name on it that collects no money from me. We have no actual association with beyond familial ties, who should be going and hunting these people down. Again, if the Society of Black Lawyers are honest, then they have to look at the legal influences in terms of British law and think about Crenshawism itself, but Crenshawism as an insertion project for various corrupt practices, etc., etc. So you may have to rebrand the society, that kind of thing. Tony Sewell can have that kind of conversation. So you're set up to do things your colleagues can't. You can make the intelligent inference and say, well, can we do X, Y, and Z? And if some cretin is going to send you I'm very offended by what you say, so how dare you email, then nobody cares. Because Coburg Neill versus Lloyds Bank gives you cognitive liberty. Corby versus ACAS gives you, it's going to be whistleblower protection if you had anyway, and just being large and assertive gives you the ability to tell these people no. So again, I'm just lucky we're in a compliance department, and I am the sort of person who says, no, I'm not interested in what you think, get out, because that's what we do for a living. So if you're on the end of a laptop and you're not legally compliant, you've never spoken to me, the first interaction with me is me attacking you. If you're hearing what I'm saying and thinking, oh dear, I wouldn't like that, this person sounds like I might be quite tough to go against in court. Yes, probably yes, that's why I'm employed by the local authority. But the job is actually explaining to you the law, right? So I tell you what the law is, and you think to yourself, well, have the landlord complied? And you tell to me, well, I don't think you have. And I should immediately say, oh right, yeah, okay, we'll give you some help, etc., etc. So we get you into the help pathway, not attacking you. That's why a clever court officer does that kind of stuff, so we don't actually attack vulnerable people. What we're now saying is we can't do the job because the people surrounding me are thick and dangerous, right? So managing director out, she defers to the law, which is via the court service. Right, so we don't care about this woman's job title, her antics, or her reputation, her money, anything at all. We care about her being corrupt. Is the influence. So someone physically goes from Birmingham's offices down to McGrath & Co.'s offices. Says, well, James is in Edinburgh, he's sitting on a bench. Can you have an intermediary to discuss any legal matter you like? So another one, the corrupt lawyers like to play as, oh, this is too sophisticated, we're a specialist branch of law, so this is not for us. But I'm saying, I don't care, I can represent myself. I need a monkey to put through paperwork into the process and say, come to a firm conclusion at the end of an argument, no, this is not literally not possible, but it has to be via a process. So somebody legally trained, not literally the cleaner, but anybody at all. So Errol can do a referral, or anybody in the firm can. Selwyn, I'm sure, they can go to John Holbrook, I'm sure he can as well. I was quoting £300 an hour from a barrister, happy to pay that. But the current position where a Gentieri thinks it's a Gentieri and I can't remember this idiot's name. Work if he's a guy in the modern world think you can pick up a piece of plastic, attack people. So you're going through a chain of inferences which would result in death potentially. Say, oh well, I've absolved myself with responsibility. The court process is going to take a long time, so see you later. There is going to be proper English, a more rapid response when there is a proper litigation unit set up, possibly via the Birmingham law firm. So they can do it, or they can have a competitor. So before we buggered off, of course, we set up the equivalent of Skynet, so we're going to attack people automatically. So I leave the city, there's a computer set up, just going at it. A pile of documents goes into the computer, someone gets a letter saying they've got a summons which could ultimately kill them. Right? Because I haven't made the ethical decision, but we're doing that properly via accredited lawyers who are honest. And we're going after Naylor's lot, should we say. So the capital to set that up is really, really low. So you want computing power and you want ethical lawyers who want money. If this proposition was put to anybody at the funeral, I think they probably would have jumped at it. But you don't really discuss that kind of stuff at funerals. It's not really the done thing. So you can, again, the current time is we're nearly sort of 6:30 on a Thursday. If what I've previously suggested can actually happen, and if a West Midlands police intermediary can stop putting on pink attire and dancing around such a gymnasium and actually have an intermediary so we can discuss important things under the serious misconduct policy, that will be appreciated. But at the moment, I believe Curetta Fowle is one of these people who oversees policing. It's not really clear, given the current structure of Birmingham, the current chaos caused by the change in political leadership. So, with the peaceful transfer of power, we can have a sensible reset of relations, and the current head of West Midlands Police can stop apologising and speak to his own court officers. That might be good. Or maybe Dean Russell can intervene as well, because we normally do prisoner finder requests. So I don't know what's happened to prisoner finder. The GDPR stuff is kind of a mess these days. But if anyone can have a look in Winson Green and see if any of the managers in there, Southall, managing director, Fern, any of these people, if you want to check if they're in the nick, and you can get back to me in Edinburgh Police so we can complete the statements and make sure these people are remanded or kept away from the public or whatever needs to happen, given the stuff they've been going along with. The legal inference, by the way, is the justification for a lot of this stuff is EQA. But if you want to build an EQA case for effectively a gang to be invited into a local authority, hidden away via computer technology, saying, here's a lot of people and here's some money for you, go and attack these people if you want to, attack their kids, do what you like, and then saying, we'll go beyond the law for you, we'll bend over backwards for you, and 6 years later somebody comes along with the police and says, hi, you're probably going to want to have a really good explanation, and I don't think Chris Naylor does. So if you struggle sessioning, I don't know, trouble figures of our staff, and then just booking out of Birmingham after being paid, an audit can't apply to me. It's a bit ugly, really, isn't it? One of these sort of messy conversations you don't want to have in the British workplace. So if Naylor can be hauled into either the police station or Central Edinburgh Police, so he can explain his behaviour, because we need to work out who authorised him to make those statements. It's logically John Cotton, or personal damages, including criminal liability. Certainly in my case, and many of my colleagues, and the people currently being stabbed to death. So the final thought before I start thinking and ranting into a microphone is the final inference is the flying person from Stillhouse Lane. If your late father can make guys fly, then you again may want to consider actually being respectful, because given that we are the hard compliance people, and you're saying, okay, well, hard compliance is now focused internally, trying to be sort of a special friend and not fetching clusters is probably not a good idea. It wasn't a good idea several months ago, it's really not a good idea now, given the current trajectory of travel for June. So yeah, final ultimatum, midday tomorrow. If I don't have a police liaison, I will further reiterate the witness statement that you should consider your part in all of this. If you haven't been forthright, there's a serious potential for criminal liability. The serious misconduct policy is there to protect the public, so it's not just you. Your duty, if you are in receipt of public money, is under Nolan to be selfless. If you see something which is out of place, you're duty-bound to report it. If it's being blasted in your face via corporate communications to the 7,000 person local authority, every one of those 7,000 people should be saying something. So if you aren't, and British legal standards are not like America, it's not like you have a right to silence, you have to be a duty of candor, you've got to say something. So if you haven't been talking, this is down to you.